I work for the US government in the afterlife / on the astral plane for the past 5 months. I am only posting because this was a big day there, where 2 unusual events occurred worth posting about. Firstly, Jim Carrey, who has demigod tier psychic powers in the astral plane and is therefore hard to control, is being kept in a concentration camp of rogue human sleepers, sedated for whatever he's done. Usually, the powerful humans like him eventually try to have too much freedom, and our government hates that and wants them contained as a threat, so they put them in camps and sedate them, which takes away their dreams in our realm, because in the astral, they are not conscious when they sleep anymore. Anyway, Jim escaped, and our squad was sent to capture and return him to the camps. I will describe the camps in another post below, as I was also in prison there before being given work release to hunt others. His powers were still vastly weakened due to long-term sedation, but he gave our 8-man squad a decent resistance, but we hit him with the light sticks, then tied him up in the van. The astral is not another dimension. You go there when you sleep, sure, but you can physically travel there too, and our government sent vehicles, guns, physical people, etc. Anyway, our team leader told Jim he will never get to go to Eden once the reptilians allow humans passage, unless he stops resisting and cooperates instead, and Jim started crying. I felt bad for him, going through exactly what I went through to get imprisoned there in the first place, in those camps 6+ months prior. Jim was like, "But I'm important on Earth," and they said, "We appreciate your work there. You were rewarded, but that does not give you permission to cause trouble here, where things are more important." So the van drove away to return him to the correction camps, and we drove away back to a place connected to it. It's a huge place, 5,000+ acres of human cattle imprisoned. Now onto the second unusual thing that happened. To be clear, human sleepers escape every day and need hunting down, just not Jim Carrey. That is why I'm posting it. And no, I don't know what Eden is, or if it's even actually real. Only that our government wants to get there, and I think it's a nickname they came up with, for some awesome place they know about. I have only met non-human beings about 20 times. I don't get paid, by the way. It's a communist type situation where I receive better privileges, food, housing, status, and not being treated like a slave. I'm trying to climb the ranks after years of rebelling, just like Jim Carrey did, until I finally gave in. Now I serve them. Anyway, the camps are like a concentration camp, mixed with a plantation, mixed with a massive university campus. The lowest among us, in the re-education work camps, live in apartment-style buildings that look like you just drove through the ghetto, falling apart. And in the lobby of the central building is a communal cafeteria all the sedated ones go to eat at. There is a big metal cross in the cafeteria that we strap people to and electrocute them when they've done bad, so others can see. I was kept there for a year, until just 5 months ago. It's surrounded on all sides by miles of farm fields that we make them work in all day, just like slaves. Anyway, that is just the concentration camp area. A little further away is administrative area with fancy college campus-style buildings and crazy technology everywhere, including a cool giant mobile 20,000+ square foot building on tank treads. If a rogue sleeper escaped that far, like me and some others did, they've made it past the miles of slave fields, which is farther than 95% of them make it. That's almost to the roads, in front of administrative. You can't reach the roads though. I will explain why in the next post, if I remember. Then there is the hospitals and labs, where they do horrible experiments on people against their will. I will describe some of what I've seen in another post. They're keeping repeat offenders alive in there as nothing more than severed human heads connected to tubes/wires, heavily sedated. There is genetically engineered, not quite humans in there, engineered to give birth repeatedly to freakish abominations, monsters that don't look human at all. Which brings me to today's second unusual event. Genetically engineered humans, who are great people, and normal just like us by the way, looking 90% identical, but have what I call beaten dog syndrome. By being raised in a lab, fully controlled like slaves, they just want to be free. And they escaped. 10 of them. These ones, despite looking 90% human, are genetically engineered to give birth to nightmarish, non-human monsters of various kinds. Anyway, we did not capture them. We killed all of them, gunned them down. Worst thing I've done there yet. And yet, I must serve them. The consequences of not doing so are too dire. I was called in for a psych evaluation after that, and almost cried, telling them I can't go back. I'm loyal, this is no problem. I will keep doing it. I want to stay to be part of this. I don't want to be an outsider again. I want to make it to Eden. I am a team player, please. And they said, don't worry, you're making too big a deal out of this. This evaluation is just routine. It has nothing to do with whether you are fit to keep serving. Your position here is secured, so long as you keep doing a good job. So I left, and I clocked out, and woke up back on Earth, to come to post this. I was actually more powerful than him, at least in his sedated state. I have no idea his full power, before I went through the same thing he did, starting a year and a half ago. I was a rogue sleeper with top 5% powers there. They captured me, and sent me to the hospital/lab, where they do horrible experiments on prisoners, and I escaped. So since I was so powerful, they did not send humans to capture me, like with Jim. They sent non-human entities that are more powerful. I was sedated in the camps for a while, living in ghetto apartment buildings, under sedated mind control. One day, I gained consciousness again, and escaped, and killed various people hunting me, until I got to the roads where, unfortunately, they've erected towers that are directed energy weapons, and hit me with them, bringing me down. They then kept me as a severed head for months in a lab, kept barely conscious on tubes, until my powers became big enough again to spontaneously regrow my body, which I did. I was captured again, and put in a 100-foot by 20-foot metal capsule with moving blades arranged in a fractal design that continuously grinded me up, ensuring I could not regenerate. Eventually, they recognized I was mind-broke and could be an asset instead. I now serve them. My powers almost down to normal levels. Who knows if they will ever regenerate after being used up to an extreme extent like that. It seems to be like a battery, and it is drained. Anyway, your condition there is reflected in your Earth life as well. My IQ on Earth used to be 140, but after what they did to me in the labs, they lowered it to 90. There and here. My service there is resulting in a higher quality of life on Earth. They've increased my luck, blessings really, so that me and my family are safer, and it's easier for us to make money, etc., as a reward for my service there. Whatever is going on there, and on Earth, makes the Matrix look like a joke. Reality is 100% completely controlled, not by the humans, but by the reptilians and other strange entities I've seen there that my bosses answer to. I've never seen those posts before, and it's not a LARP. There is countless of us doing this, so others have definitely posted about it. The similarities are similar, because that's how it actually is there. To sum it all up, Jim Carrey escaped, and we hunted him down and he cried. Human hybrids escaped, so we killed them all. 2 unusual events in one day. I believe you, AP. I've seen some crazy shit in my dreams that makes me think it's astral. I saw this giant dude with blonde hair that everyone immediately bowed down to when he entered the room. He told me, don't be insecure just because you're a newbie to this, adding, the others can say that you are insecure. It is physical, it's not astral, no matter the distance. Astral is not a different place far away. It's a different sphere of reality, here and everywhere else. There are different areas in astral, some corresponding to physical locations, but it's not material, and currency used on material plane of existence is kinda useless. Thus my point that beings already regularly functioning in astral would not be paid, and there would be no physical government there, since most lawmakers and politicians are spiritually and character-wise even unfit to function there consciously while incarnated. Bro, fuck you. I have dreams just like this, what the fuck. I fucking hate those re-education camps. I've blown them up several times and traveled between places/planes to escape them. Do they really hate lucid and astral dreamers this much? Goddamn. It makes sense to me, dude. Not so sure about the grid on Earth, but money is effectively conditioned into humans at this point. They will do shit to earn it in their sleep, or be brainwashed or stupid enough to believe it has value there. If they did have craft that prevented normal astral, non-physical travel and physicalized you, it would make sense. I've seen a triangle craft materialize in real life and shapeshift hologram shift into a Cessna, and they psychologically fucked with me psychically, which tracks with other sightings of the same or similar triangle craft. The way it seemed to operate, I have no doubt it would have access to the astral through scientific means if the grid thing is not true. I honestly have no idea. I'm recovering from psychosis from seeing the UFO in the first place, and my agent-like dreams, similar to OP, have since stopped. This is the most stupid, yet somehow mid-tier LARP I have ever read. I just imagine Jim Carrey putting on Loki's mask and shouting, "Smokin'," before busting out of the joint. Then OP's squad keeps getting thwarted by him in theatrical goofy antics like a bad 90s slapstick. Can I ask you something seriously, OP? Why did you make this? The OP is actually well poisoning and doing a really good job of it. These places actually exist. There's bound to be an information leak on their existence eventually. So what they do is poison the well enough so that when the truth comes out, nobody will believe that some of this stuff is actually happening or that these sites actually exist. It's the same with human mutilation, where they let some A's suck those bodies dry. Then they say it's the cartels doing, or other BS, but it is not. As strange as this story is, I had some lucid dreams where I started asking questions, and literally a reptilian woman came at me and silenced everyone else. Locks formed on their mouths. She then stalked me the entire night, the next sleep cycle. I have not had a dream since. I might be in the camp. However, I'm not all that powerful in the dream world, but ridiculously strong IRL. Weird. A couple years ago, a friend of mine seemed to uncover one of Hollywood's biggest and most fucked up secrets. I was already suspecting this shit was happening, but he outlined it all, even trying to contact the authorities about it. He told me that not long afterwards, his phone was hacked, and he started getting random voicemails and texts from spoof numbers telling him he was going to die, and, well, within a few months, he disappeared from the face of the earth, along with nearly all of his work online being literally scrubbed. I keep wanting to just lay it all out there, but I'm also in conflict with myself. Not trying to sound like a bitch, but I'm not seeing anything beneficial from doing so. Like, what will change? For what it's worth, it was mentioned twice over the years here, but merely with people asking about the theory. My friend tried blowing it up on Plebit and Twitter, but all those threads and posts are effectively gone. He even went on a podcast about it too, with even that being completely scrubbed entirely. All I can say is that you would never suspect this person to be behind this shit until you do the math and see the pattern, but I also firmly believe at this point they are not working alone either. My friend did try contacting detectives, cops, the feds, news outlets, everyone basically, and they all played him off as a fool. Be me. Be like 7. Be from Mexico. Go to a really expensive school. Only reason me and my brother go there is because our mom teaches there, and she can have us there for free. Most kids there are from rich families who got there by either being successful motherfuckers or drug dealers. Mostly drug dealers though. Get invited to a party. Mom takes us there, and she leaves us, and she goes back to our house because she teaches in our house too. Be having mad fun in this super cool party with all these fucking cool things. Be hungry as fuck. Go to the hot dog stand for one. Start hearing some noises. Lady who is behind me grabs my shoulder for some reason. Start hearing an old lady crying, like outside. Hear some dude screaming in Spanish. Start hearing loud noises. Like 5 to 6 motherfuckers with ski masks suddenly enter through a big door. They are fucking shooting automatic guns. Lady pushes me hard behind the hot dog stand, and I fell down to my knees, and actually it hurt a ton. She tells me to stay there and do not move. Lady gets shot in the leg trying to save me. Lay down there, thinking about my little brother, who was 4 years old at the time. Some oldish lady tells me to crawl over to her. I do, and she hugs me, like in a protective manner. Motherfuckers still shooting, but they aren't doing it randomly as they were at the start. They kill the birthday girl's father and like 3 more family members of hers. Her father actually shoots back at them before he goes down, but he can't get anyone. Shooters leave. Some ladies offer to give me a ride home. Don't even know who these ladies are. Think I'll get kidnapped or something. Still can't find my brother. Tell them that I won't go anywhere until I find my brother. Look for him everywhere. At this point, I am worried sick about him. Where is my little brother after all this shit went down? Go outside. Across the street, there is my brother sitting down on the sidewalk. He still has his candy bag and is okay. Run over to him and almost get hit by a car. Trust ladies who offer to take us home. Somehow, I knew how to give perfect directions to our house. Get home. Mum cries when she sees us after she found out what happened. My yellow shirt had blood spatters from the lady who got shot behind me. I think like 3 kids got kidnapped after the shooting. If I recall correctly, 2 were found, but a girl was never found. When I was in high school, me and my friends were heading to a buddy's house who lived out in the country to spend the night. It was already pretty late. We were picking up food and drinks at a small gas station on the way, and this guy at the counter was obviously autistic or something. Us being the assholes that we are, we started snickering and making jokes under our breath and trying to make each other laugh while he was scanning our items. As soon as we get out of the door, we burst out laughing, and I look back to see the guy with the most hateful look on his face. I tell everyone we should get going, and we pile in my shitty car. When I pull out of the parking lot, I look in my rear view and notice another busted up car pulling out heading the same direction. About a mile or so down the road, after blasting some System of a Down or whatever the hell we were listening to, one of my friends says, "Anon, is there a guy behind us?" I look in my rearview mirror and can barely make out the front of a car. The headlights are off, and they are following close behind. I can only see it because of my taillights. I turn the music down, and everyone gets silent. One friend in the back seat turns around and says, "It's that fucking moron from the gas station," and tells me to let him pass. My other friend in the back seat leans out the window and throws a half-empty soda bottle at the car and flips the guy off. I start to get nervous. I tell him to get back inside the car and sit down. When he turns back around to face me, he starts arguing with me when we get hit from behind and hard. I struggle to stay on the road and look back just in time to see the guy behind us ram us with his car again. This time I almost lose control. My friends start freaking out and tell me to floor it. I basically stand up on the floor pedal and the speedometer starts to climb. 40, 50, 60. The back road was not made to be driven on this fast. 70, 80, 90. The car is rattling like it's going to fall apart. I could not stop gripping the steering wheel tighter and tighter, and my knuckles went white. My car kept making this horrible noise that sounded like it was going to give in at any second. My friends were yelling over one another. I could just barely make out the crunch of gravel over their panicked voices. In the rearview mirror, I saw the guy's car closing in, headlights still off, his front bumper barely a foot away from ours. My friends were basically pleading for me to speed up and lose this guy. He was obviously trying to run us off the road. But it was a back road in the middle of nowhere. No turnoffs, no houses, just darkness pressing in on either side. My heart was hammering, and my palms were so sweaty they were slipping off of the wheel. Then the road curved sharply to the left, and I did not see it in time. The tire screamed as I yanked the wheel, but it was too late. The car fishtailed, skidding off the road and into the ditch. We hit something, a rock, a stump, I don't know, and the car flipped. Everything was spinning, screams, glass shattering, metal twisting, then silence. When I came to, the car was on its side. My head was pounding, and my vision blurred as I looked around. One of my friends was groaning next to me, blood running down his face. Another was eerily quiet. Panic set in. And then I heard it. The sound of footsteps crunching on gravel. I twisted in my seat, struggling to see through the shattered windshield. The man from the gas station was standing there, illuminated faintly by the car's flickering taillights. He was not saying anything, just staring. His expression was blank now, void of anger, but somehow that made it worse. "Help, please," I shouted, my voice cracking. He did not move. He just stood there, watching us struggle. I tried to push the door open, but it was jammed. My friend in the back seat was crying. begging me to do something. Then the man finally moved, slowly, deliberately, towards the driver's side window. He crouched down so his face was level with mine. "You think you're so funny," was all that he said while eyeballing us. His voice was low and calm. I froze. I could not think, could not breathe. He tilted his head slightly, as if considering something, then stood back up. Without a word, he turned and walked back to his car. I watched in stunned silence as he got in, started the engine and drove off, his taillights vanishing into the darkness. It took us hours to flag down help, and when the police finally showed up, we tried to explain what had happened. They didn't seem to believe us, no one did. There was no sign of the man or his car, and we never saw him again. But I will never forget the look on his face as he crouched by my window. I don't know what he was considering in that moment, but I'm glad at least some sanity took over. What fucking nutjob tries to run someone off the road and kill them over some jokes? This felt truly like something from a horror movie. I am posting this to look for possible answers of closure. I have since told the police about this, and the police asked me why I did not call them as it was happening. Me and my friends were in a dark car park by a lake in my city. The lake is surrounded by various car parks and trees. The closer you get to the lake, the further you are from the main road, which takes you out of the wooded area. My friends and I were parked 5 meters away from the lake, with the car facing the lake. We sat there, listening to music and chatting for 10 minutes, with me in the driver's seat, put the ignition off, when all of a sudden, my friend who was looking out my driver's side window says to me, "Is that a man standing there?" I laugh and look ahead, and all I see is the dark lake in front of me, and I say, "No." But he points his finger at my driver's side window, and I turn my head and see a man with a cat mask covering the top half of his face, standing 10 meters away, staring at me, not moving. I immediately am extremely freaked out. The way he was standing and staring at us through the mask was so unnerving. I immediately start my car as quick as I could, to which this man starts running towards my driver's side door at full speed. Thankfully, my doors were locked, and he stood no chance against my car, but just as we breathed a small sigh of relief that the car was now moving, we see a white ute following close behind my car. Now, as I've mentioned, we are in this wooded area with dirt roads and several turns with which I was not familiar. Each turn we made, which were all the wrong turns unfortunately, the car would follow us. We were screaming the whole way and not sure what they wanted from us. Eventually, the worst thing that possibly could have happened, and I make the wrong turn in a dead-end car park, and the white ute parks on an angle, essentially blocking me in. At this point, I am genuinely fearing for my life, and the masked man appears from the forest, coming at my car quick. I drive around, nearly hitting him, and manage to weasel past the ute, parked on an angle. I finally drove out of there, going the right way, and getting onto the main road. The scariest part to me now is wondering what they wanted from us. It felt like more than a prank, considering the whole car pursuit, an attempt to block us in. I don't know what kind of weapons they had in the car. I thought it was possibly an attempted carjacking, but if that was the case, I feel like there would have been more efficient means of doing so. I was almost the victim of a Craigslist advertisement. I am 19 years old, and I live in the Pacific Northwest. A couple of months ago, I was looking for extra work because my hours at my regular job were shit. I'm quiet, anxious, and I don't have any friends, so I turned to Craigslist. I knew the site could be sketchy, but I was desperate for side gigs, and I had not had any luck as someone with no skills and not willing to do sex work. One ad caught my attention. It offered $50 for someone to take photos of a property using either a camera or something above an iPhone 12. I have an iPhone 14, promising it would only take an hour or two. I emailed the poster and soon got a text back. The man said I seemed like a perfect fit and invited me over that same day. What's funny is I actually asked some people earlier that day about if it was a dumb idea, which everyone told me to take a person with me. I did not listen, but I wish I did. The house was about 20 minutes outside of town, surrounded by dense forest. It was small and run down, but nothing that raised alarms. The man who greeted me looked like he was in his 50s. Unremarkable. He invited me inside. The house was completely empty. No furniture, just dust and dirt. I asked where to start taking photos, but he was dodging the question, making small talk, and asking personal questions about me instead. My anxiety was building, so I kept the small talk going, but then he began staring at me intensely. I dropped my phone at one point when we eventually started taking photos through the house, and when he picked it up, he held on to it a little too long before giving it back. Unprompted, when taking photos of the master bedroom, he brushed my face with his hand, complimented my skin. I knew it was stupid coming here, but at that point, my blood truly ran cold and I was done making excuses in my head. I made a quick excuse to leave, something about my mom, but when I turned toward the door, he grabbed my arm. I still have the picture I took after the ordeal of the bruises on my forearm. It felt like I was going to get snapped in half. I had brought a small knife for self-defense, a gift from my paranoid mom who would have never let me come here if she had known. Without thinking, I pulled it out and stabbed him in the arm. It was released with the push of a small button. He let go, swinging at my arm with the knife, but I was already running out of the house. I got into my car and drove until I was at a gas station, and my heart was calm. I called the police and explained everything. They took it seriously. I came in to make a report and answer questions. They searched the property and the surrounding forest, but did not find him. The house turned out to be abandoned, and in the basement, they found a pack of zip ties. A report was made, but he is still out there. I call sometimes for updates, but it's never anything of substance. I've never told anyone about this, other than the police, not even my mom. I know typing this, I sound pretty unbothered, but that's the first time anything like that has ever happened to me, and I have trouble leaving my house most days. I decided to type this out on here, as maybe a way of getting it off my chest, as it plagues my thoughts constantly. The memory of a deleted YouTube video lingers in my memories, only fading every day. The video consisted of a still camera in a dark closet or something. Looked like the camera was pointed at a desk or something. A bunch of miscellaneous items scattered throughout the setting. Outside the window, I think it was the stripe WTC window pattern. It's been so long, I remember the skyscraper window POV though. Next in the video, the plane comes out of seemingly nowhere and crashes many floors below where the camera is stationed. Extreme shaking and moving of all the miscellaneous items ensues, but the plane was low enough to no flames can be seen. The plane looked an infinite times more real than the tourist guy picked. I mean an infinite times more realistic / different. I think I remember it being much wider and darker grey. I shared this video to a bunch of family members. I was an odd kid, because of how surreal and unbelievable that video was. Sadly, the last time I remember watching it on YouTube was in 2011, at the peak of my 9/11 obsession as a kid. I swear this video is real, and I've thought about it for years, and I will be for years to come. Help bros, at least one of you has to have seen this video as well. Not very good at green text, but here goes. This happened as I worked at 7-Eleven back in 2013. 2 customers come in around 2 a.m. One dude goes to the self-serve coffee station, and I notice he slips some red stuff into the straight black coffee. Other customer is a guy who tried to rob the store. As it's going on, I comply and try to get the register open. Robber dude is getting impatient and threatens to just straight up kill me when the stranger from before arrives and tries to talk him down. Robber dude is not having it and points the gun at him, but he just runs after a second out of the store in fear. It was at that point I noticed from the reflection of the glass that his face had become strange, like there was a creature-ish face with sharp teeth at the front center. That lasted about 4 seconds before he looks back to me, his face normal, and says, "Well, have a good night I suppose," and walks away. TLDR, what I can only describe as a vampire saved my life in 2013. Don't know where you are now, Mr. Vamp, but thank you.